China and Japan are trying to find a solution to their dispute over a chain of islands in the East China Sea. The foreign ministers of the two countries have met to discuss their conflicting claims to the uninhabited islands. Taiwanese boats retreated from the area after a standoff with Japanese ships on Tuesday. Steve Chow reports from Ishigaki in Japan, 170 kilometers from the chain of disputed islands.
Ishigaki is one of the key staging points in Japan's defense of the Senkaku Islands. That is what they are called here in Japan. Over the past day, we've seen an incredible amount of naval traffic in and around this harbor, especially after Tuesday's standoff with the Taiwanese flotilla. This specific vessel was involved in a 2010 altercation with a Chinese fishing vessel in and around the disputed islands. We understand that the Chinese vessel ended up ramming this ship. The fisherman was arrested, but after a great deal of political pressure from Beijing, he was released. It is the Coast Guard that is tasked with defending and protecting the territories in and around the disputed islands that Japan considers its own. Each of these vessels is equipped with a number of hailing devices to warn off vessels. They include an electronic banner that runs on the side of these vessels, as well as loudspeakers, and finally the water cannon. The water cannon was ultimately what was used at the end of the naval standoff with the Taiwanese flotilla, with Japanese Coast Guard and Taiwanese Coast Guard exchanging water cannon fire. The concern is, though, that in the next stage of escalation, that live ammunition from some of these guns may ultimately be used in an exchange perhaps with Taiwanese vessels or, more concerningly, with Chinese vessels. Japan's chief secretary, the cabinet secretary, has described the situation as very tense following 2 days of diplomatic talks in Beijing.
Talks were held amid quiet, tense atmosphere, but both sides asserted their respective positions. Going forward, we agreed to continue to communicate, including through working-level talks.
There are signs that Japan is leaning towards a more nationalist bent. The opposition party, the LDP, just elected in a former Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. He is known as a hawk and has campaigned heavily on the need for Japan to become stronger in defending its territory, and also the need for Japan to beef up its military. In one of his campaign speeches, he said that Japan must defend its land and its sea at whatever the cost. The opposition party, the LDP, as it stands according to the polls, would likely win an election that is expected in the next few months.